I think what you're saying about the late night things is so true, because I remember watching them do monologues with no audience, and I was like, who said okay to this? Why are you doing this? There's not a fucking chance in hell that this is funny or gonna work. And when you see those flat, corny, late night monologue jokes with no audience, those are so fucking cringy. And you're dealing with a lot of these people that are not stand-up comics, so they don't even really truly understand how to deliver it right. Like, they don't have the chops. What they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter. So a bunch of really good joke writers wrote them some stuff, and then they're playing to the audience, and the audience is like laughing, so they get this feedback, and they know how to do that. When they're just them and the camera, you're in the void now. You're in deep space. There's no one around you, and it's fucking wild to watch.
It is wild. Can you unlock, like, how different is that from like stand up? I'm just like a casual viewer of like the like late nights. I mean, I know they say like applause, but is that real like laughter, and like are they like saying like, hey, clap?
Oh, there's someone who's doing this. There's someone in front of the crowd. There's a warm-up guy, and generally the warm-up guy is a failed comedian or a middling comedian who's just trying to make it, and they're doing the warm-up thing as like a side gig. And there's people that are good at warm-up, and the problem with being good at warm-up is it's a profitable job, and it'll actually keep you from being good at stand-up.
Oh, you're like stuck doing
yes,
thing
you get
forever.
stuck. I've had friends that were stuck doing warm-up, and then some of them quit, and some of them didn't, and the ones that didn't are fucked. And because those shows they don't even exist anymore. There's only a handful of those shows. So like if you see like how many talk shows are there? There's very few.
Yeah.
There's Colbert, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's Fallon. There's a few. There's only a few.
Yeah.
And so they stand there, and there's applause signs, and then there's producers. There's the warm-up guy that's literally telling people to clap. They're like, okay, explaining to the people,
Yeah.
okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round of applause. Let's practice this right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Fallon. Yeah. And everybody claps.
They practice it.
Yes. They'll train the audience how to do it, depending upon the set. But I've seen them do that at different places. And I had a friend who was a writer in the early days of Conan. He's a buddy of mine who was a comic. And I went to see one of the very, very early Conans. So this is like, I guess it was like the 90s or the early 2000s. No, it had to be the 90s. It was the 90s.
Yeah.
And they were reading their banter between Conan and who's the other guy? Andy Richter?
Oh, Andy Richter, yeah.
They were reading off of cue cards. So they had a giant cue card. The banter was fake. So the banter, their dialogue back and forth was scripted. So they were saying, so Andy, I understand you got married and blah, 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 blah. Oh, yes, I do. And so they're reading it, and I'm watching the cards. I'm like, this is madness. Who approved this? And it was terrible. The early days of Conan, like that sort of banter was fucking. The thing about Conan is like he's this funny guy. He was a funny writer. He's a really smart guy, and he had to figure out how to do the talk show.
He
figured it out. But in the beginning, it was awful. And I watched, like, they're like the audience is being cheered on. There's literal applause signs that flash to tell you when to applaud. And like, we'll be right back. Yay! And everybody claps. Is everybody really clapping that you're going to be right back? Nobody gives a fuck if you're going to be right back.
I feel like they didn't know that, though. Like, I feel like media literacy has kind of gone through the roof. Like, many people... I guess it's maybe everyone has cameras now, so everyone's like sort of mini producers now of their own show.
Sure.
And so they get it now, and so all of a sudden the craving for authenticity gets so much higher because now you're aware of like what everyone knows what a teleprompter is. Everybody's sort of like, even though I didn't know how exactly it worked, I kind of was vaguely aware that like they kind of told you to applaud, and the laugh tracks in sitcoms were just canned laughter. So I feel like as people realize the fakery, there's a craving for like, hey, can you do this for real? Like, can you not, I remember when I found out like none of the conversations were real. Like I was like, what?
Right.
What do you mean it's not real? Like because it's all a pretend. Like they're all pretending that you really knew about my funny boat story. And like I had this quippy, and I thought, wow, they're so charismatic. And you come to find out they've been rehearsing the story.
Yes, they go over with a producer on the phone.
And it's completely insane when you realize that. You go like, oh, it's all fake, and the illusion is sort of gone. And so now, I think one of the surprising things, but also maybe obvious in hindsight things, was why shows with no laugh track, less production, are more engaging.
Yes.
Is because there's more of a realization of, there isn't like games here. There's just two people talking. They haven't rehearsed their lines, and I mean, I came on here. There was no production notes. There was no like, hey, we want to talk about this. It was just like, hey, you want to come on, and that's all it is. And so I think
we didn't even discuss what we're going to talk about.
No,
which is what I do with everybody. I just have them come in and talk.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and I think that's partly to do with like why people enjoy the show is that they know it's not like tricks and gimmicks. I wonder, there's like, it's funny to me as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, there's sort of like this, like the world is accelerating in two directions towards like authenticity, and then like with all the beauty filters and like the fake AI voices, it's like you can fake reality, but we also crave reality at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, people are craving real human experiences. And if you watch those late night shows, you never feel like you know that person. You never feel like you're there. But if you're just talking, and you and I are just talking, someone is like on their iPhone or whatever they're doing, they're a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, they're here in a weird way.
I always thought that it like live streaming your whole life would become big.
Well, that was the Truman Show, right?
Yeah, no, but I thought we would see it. Like, I guess you see it with Twitch streamers who like stream like 12 hours a day. Mm-hmm. But I kind of thought what would take off I was kind of surprised it didn't, was like, you just watch my whole life. Like
some people did do that
for
a while.
They tried
right?
it. I was kind of surprised that didn't, because I thought like eventually you'd have celebrities who their whole life would be on display, and like the authenticity of just sitting in a room with somebody with just, it's quiet.
I think people just got too weirded out by that. But wasn't there was a movie, I forget who was in the movie, but there was a movie where someone had their whole life filmed, and at the end they rejected it and decided
that's Truman Show for sure.
But Truman Show was like, that was the Jim Carrey movie, right?
Yeah,
but that was fake, right? Like he didn't know
they were filming his whole life, and he rejects it.
There was another one where the person became famous because they followed them around with cameras everywhere, and at the end of it, like he fell in love with a girl or something, and it was over.